In an attempt to back my claim that the Mamba is the worst vehicle in Grand Theft Auto 5, I've spent the last 2 weeks asking my community what the ugliest car is in Grand Theft Auto 5 via numerous community polls, videos, questionnaires, and more. And after taking every single comment into account, even if I don't agree with it, the results are in. The 25th ugliest car is the Zirconium Stratum, which is a small station wagon that's been in the game from the start. I understand that many people just don't like wagons, but what did the Stratum do to you people? Staying in a similar ballpark, we have the Maxwell Asbo, which I don't think is overly bad, and it has plenty of customization, most of which doesn't exactly add to the desirability of the vehicle, which definitely doesn't help its case. Again, I would consider myself a personal fan of the Faction Custom Donk, but it's obviously abnormal in its design. Many people said that they hated every donk in the game, which was a weird way of mentioning this car, as it's the only donk in the entire game, though it sure does make custom wheels look a little bit more unique. The first car on this list that I'd actually have to agree with is the Verlier, which is terribly unbalanced. The proportions feel all off, and sure, it has decent customization, but there really isn't a way to add to this to make it look nice at a car meet. And a small portion of the community agreed. The Strider could have been a decent SUV, but Rockstar decided that this vehicle needed a small lift kit with wide plastic fender flares. Sure, this could have been an option as a customization, and people likely would have been fine with it, but instead we are given this monstrosity that only has front bumper modifications. I suppose this car made the list because it's not exactly everyone's cup of tea. The Weevil Customs Rat Rod style is an acquired taste, but to be honest, I can totally see why people voted for it. However, some people also just voted for the regular Weevil, so maybe people just hate VW bugs. The Panto was an iconic vehicle back in the day, being one of the first to feature sticker bombing as customization. However, people don't seem to like this option, or this car, as it's the 20th worst looking car in GTA 5, according to my surveys. The Chameleon was a GTA 5 Collector's Edition exclusive back in the day, and was desirable for that reason. However, after becoming available for everyone, this car didn't exactly climb the ranks for its looks or its performance, and therefore has ended up on this list. The Cheetah was also a 2013 car and doubled as the original ramp car. However, people were saying that the back end was ugly and not appealing to look at while driving. And to be honest, I'd probably have to agree with them. Honestly, the Habanero is quite a standard car, and the fact that so many people think it's the ugliest car in the game is a bit surprising. Sure, it has no customization, no unique or outstanding qualities, horrible handling to the point where it's gained the nickname the Habanero Roll. This can't possibly be the worst car, right? The Penetrator, alongside having an unfortunate name, is also just kind of off-looking. It's very round and kind of simple. The back of the car looks fine, but the front end looks like Toothless trying to smile. The A11 is a car that I was fully expecting to score higher on this list. It's also very rounded, but almost as if it's a unibody. There's zero sharp edges, and it brings forth a common occurrence, which is disproportionate vehicles. Some people even said it looks like a fish. The Morgon came up on this list, most likely due to the fact it's very bulky, especially given the fact that it's electric. Or maybe it's a hybrid. Regardless, it's just not a very appetizing car. Also, the rear end is just this big black panel with no customizations. Next up is kind of a group of vehicles, because so many people just said the Arena Wars vehicles, which is like 36 different vehicles. However, the one that was most mentioned was specifically the Nightmare Slam Van. This is mostly due to its stubby size and overall design. The overall consensus was, well, actually nobody really gave a reason to any of the other Arena War vehicles, and they just didn't like them, I guess. The most disappointing vehicle to make this list is the Zentorno. The classic, the OG, the well-priced and sharp-looking car from 2014 was surprisingly called out numerous times throughout every single poll and video where I asked. Most people commonly said that the headlights were off or that the hood was too small. The Dominator GTX is not a horrible car, but man, the customizations on this vehicle are absolutely disgusting. Chrome wheel arches, sticker bombing pieces, and extra exhausts. Many people complain about the horrid combinations they see this car with, and mentioned that it's horribly expensive and performs subpar at best. The X80 Proto should come as no surprise as the 9th ugliest car on this list. You'll start to see from this point forward that lots of concept vehicles made it into the top 10. The X80 Proto, however, is something I wouldn't expect to be street legal, and others made claims such as how the X80 Proto has no flow or that it should have remained in the trenches. The Dilettante ended up higher on this list, mostly because people seem to just hate the Prius in general, and for the longest time the Prius truly was a laughingstock. But is it really so bad that it belongs this high on the list? Perhaps if I only counted people who said the Dilettante by name rather than just the GTA Prius, it wouldn't be this high up. And just for those people, I want to see a Dilettante LX. The new one. The Radius is supposedly the ugliest vehicle from initial release. It may be boring and a tad bit bulky, but I honestly expect this vehicle to be more forgotten than remembered for its bad looks. What made you guys think of this one? The Raptor is definitely on my list for the worst looking vehicle in GTA 5. It's very unique, and unique tends to be memorable for the incorrect reasons. However, every person who claimed this was ugly had someone else saying that it wasn't ugly, claiming that it was quirky, fun, and just goofy. In 5th place, the Taipan, which once again had no reasoning with it aside from the fact that it's an abomination compared to the vehicle it's based on in real life. Honestly, this car just exists for me, and I'm not entirely sure if it needs to be this far on the list. Now the Zaba gets a lot of hate, as seen from the polls, but to be honest, he's just a boxy dude. That being said, many players don't like its boxy and bulky nature, saying that it just looks horrible inside of a garage and it's just a box on oversized wheels. The third ugliest car in GTA 5 is the Tesseract, which is again another concept car. The sharp edges of this car and the tiny headlights and taillights just don't add up for a good vehicle overall. That being said, its hideous liveries just make a horrendous combination. The second worst looking car is the Tyrant, which got quite a few more votes than the Tesseract. This car was voted for 100% because of its disproportionate design, which I kind of struggle to see, but I guess it is a little large for what it is. I also really don't like the mirrors on this car. They're extremely small and I don't like the look of these pencil-thin mirrors. Before we get to the worst vehicle, I want to go over some vehicles that I would have put on this list that were barely mentioned in the overall polls. For me, it would be the Strider, which is just wonky, the Rampant Rocket, which is kind of just a hate crime, the Xeno, which brings back those tiny mirrors that I hate, the FR36 and the ZR380, just because I'm not a fan of their headlights and taillights or their real-life counterparts. And of course, the outrageously disgusting abomination to all of mankind and the entire GTA universe, the Mamba, which I hate for numerous reasons. However, after all of my Mamba hate over the years, I have an offer for you. If we hit 25,000 subs by the end of the month, I'll make a Mamba appreciation video where I apologize for all of my previous comments and remarks about this vehicle. But if we don't hit that goal, I'll post a Mamba roast instead that you will all have to agree with in the comments. Getting back on track, the Devastate 8 was voted the worst looking car in GTA 5 by this community due to its overall shape and horribly offset cab. This vehicle also houses massive exhaust ports, which were completely unnecessary. Some comments said things like, "It looks like a peanut, it's an insult to my eyes," and it's straight up horrendous. Now we may have to revisit this idea in the future, because I'm sure the comments are going to be disputing this list until GTA 6 comes out. But remember, these aren't my opinions, these were yours. And if you want to complain about my opinions, check out this video, where I rank every emergency vehicle in the entire game. People didn't like what I put in number 1.